What happened in Texas, what's happening right now, what will happen in Ohio, what will happen in North Carolina, what will happen in Pennsylvania is not endemic to the South. It is endemic to authoritarians who do not want to see inconvenient voters cast their ballots and speak their minds. And that has to be the call to arms.
Lawmakers held a rare field meeting to address voting rights. This is the first time in 20 years that a meeting like this has been held, and it's all about voting rights, to protect voting rights, to address the attack on voting rights. And I thought it was very interesting. Of course, Senator Warnock was present. Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota was there. But Stacey Abrams, when she was asked about this meeting and specifically about the tweet that Kyrsten Sinema made saying that, she reveres John Lewis and his work, Stacey Abrams felt like it was inappropriate for Sinema to quote John Lewis, knowing that she is not taking action that would have made Lewis proud. Take a listen to what Abrams had to say.
Time for action. That yes, we appreciate your reverence for and your respect for John Lewis and the work of saving democracy, but now is the urgent time for action. What happened in Texas, what's happening right now, what will happen in Ohio, what will happen in North Carolina, what will happen in Pennsylvania is not endemic to the South. It is endemic to authoritarians who do not want to see inconvenient voters cast their ballots and speak their minds. And that has to be the call to arms. This is not simply about one moment. This is about the foundations of our democracy, and they are in peril. And it's time now for every single member of the U.S. Senate, Democrats and Republicans and independents, to declare their allegiance to our democracy as opposed to their parties.
Now, we'll get to Senator Warnock here in a few, but Ben, I wanted to stop there and pull you in because this reminds me last week when we listened to the way that Republicans were quoting MLK in regards to critical race theory. And so here we have Kyrsten Sinema revering John Lewis when she's taking no action to uphold his legacy on voting rights.
Absolutely. There's nothing that I have found that white liberals like more than co-opting the language, the legacy, and the life of people that they have no intention of actually honoring what they wanted. John Lewis would be the last person that would. John Lewis would call out Kyrsten Sinema right now today if he had not passed away. So she really does, for the purposes of the fight that we're in, fighting for voting rights, for the purposes of she and Joe Manchin standing in the way of overturning the filibuster so that we can protect voting rights. I think it is in the most genuine good faith interest of Kyrsten Sinema to keep John Lewis's name out of her mouth.
Absolutely. And, not only are they not upholding his values, but it feels like in some regard, they're starting to undo the very things that he spent his entire career trying to implement.
Yeah, that's some unmitigated caucasity there. I'm using colorful language because it's not endemic just to white people. Obviously, it's human nature to co-op people whose truths are inconvenient for you. The fact of the matter is that John Lewis's truth is inconvenient for Kyrsten Sinema. MLK's truth is inconvenient for white liberalism and white conservatism that want to only focus on I have a dream and not the fact that he went up there to get the check for black people. So it is something that I've seen in human nature that when truth is being spoken that is inconvenient for you, instead of letting that truth transform you, instead of Kyrsten Sinema allowing John Lewis's truth to transform her so she could actually do something good for America, she decided to rewrite John Lewis.
And I'm so happy that you took the conversation there. Just the simplicity of truth, because that's exactly what Senator Warnock centered in his messaging during this rare field meeting. Take a listen at what he had to say.
What we're seeing in Georgia is an attempt to deny certain people the ability to have their voices heard in our democracy. As I've said time and time again, some people don't want some people to vote. Congress must take action on voting rights. and we have no time to spare. There is nothing more important for us to do this Congress. We Americans live in a great house that democracy built. And right now, that house is on fire.
And that reminded me of a quote that we've mentioned several times over the last few weeks by MLK. I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house. That was when he made that statement. That is the first quote that popped into mind. The fact that voting rights are under attack. He put it simply, the simple truth that some people just don't want other people to vote, right? And so I know that there has been so many resources, so many people who are all hands on deck trying to fight this issue. The March on Washington this year has been dedicated to this issue. Do you think that we're going to be successful in protecting the right to vote for those who look like you and me, Ben?
Well, we got to be, right? We have to be successful for the sake of America. One of the things I appreciate about the framing that Dr. Mack brings oftentimes is that we, as the descendants of people who built this country, have every right to this country. And so in order for Black folks to protect our investment in America, we got to win this particular fight. And I love how Stacey Abrams framed it. It's not particularly a Southern thing, even though there is some correlation, but that doesn't mean causality, right? It's not a white thing, even though there's a correlation to white conservatism, but that's not a causal link. The causal link is that there are always going to be people who would prefer authoritarianism over democracy that goes in a direction that is not conducive to their goals and their ambitions for power.
Well, and we can wrap this up here. Last thing I'll say is I just think that it is very inspiring to see how many people are working together on this issue, prioritizing it, doing so urgently. And I just love Stacey's approach to this, which we know she was very successful when she was organizing on this issue before, but now she's been spearheading what's called Hot Call Summer, which appeals definitely to a younger generation when you put that side by side to, Hot Girl Summer, right? And already she said it has resulted in more than 40,000 calls. But we're seeing, this creative approach. And I can't help but wonder where our nation would be if we could evolve to a place where we no longer have to defend, right? And dump all of these resources and all of this energy into combating the resistance and start dumping these resources and this energy into building, right? Because right now I feel like we're still in a defense. We're coming from a place of defense. We're trying to defend our voting rights, something that we should just have, instead of building our infrastructure, instead of building our economy, instead of building our education systems, right? We're here and we're going to spend the next, 6 to 12 months just simply defending
That's right.
our right to vote.
The fact of the matter is that there's so much more that we could be accomplishing as a nation. There's so much more that we can be accomplishing as a species. But because our political and economic institutions have been seized by people who are satisfied with the way things are now, because the way things are now were built to benefit them, they would rather destroy democracy to protect the power structure that was built to protect them and to benefit them than to launch into the future and see all the things that we could actually be spending our money and our resources and our energy on. But we're at fundamental square one. Like you said, we're having to expend all of this energy just so that we can vote. How are we as a people going to move into the future if we can't even get past something that should have been established back in 1776, if not for white supremacy?